All right, a second version of this of my sandwich routine, if you will. It's not a version so much, but it's a different story, a different emotional hook, I sometimes tell, um, and it's something that actually happened to me. Probably one of my personal favorite memories of me doing magic ever. Um, and I don't think other than Ricky Jay, anyone would have handled the situation the way I did. It was quite nice. It was some years ago. I was, and again, I think I told you that story. But sometimes I tell the story and then I do the sandwich routine. The sandwich routine itself is essentially the same. You do a sandwich, but it can be done in the hands. It's the same thing. So you have the sandwich cards here. You throw them in there. You get the card. You have them hold the cards, um, and you do the switch with some other card, and you throw those cards in there. Oops, and you show that somewhere in there they now got the other card, which is actually weaker if you think about it. And I do the last bit with a toss. What happened was some years ago I was at the GDC, the German Dart Corporation, and I subsequently was hired to do the PDC, the Professional Dart Corporation. And while somewhere in Germany, I believe it was in Halle an der Saale, if memory serves. And so I was going around and doing some walk around magic and what have you. And after the tournament, which coincidentally a guy named Phil Taylor won. And walking through this whole thing, I have nothing to do with darts really. They had these booth with merchandise, and a lot of this merchandise was darts and flights and accessories, and they all had this Phil the Power Taylor's name on it. And then one of the guys there, he had on his forearm, tattooed in his forearm, he had Phil the Power Taylor, the guy's signature. So apparently this was some big guy. Turns out he was, I think by now he's like 15-time world champion and whatnot. Um, there's no other player in the world that has a winning record against this guy. Um, he's a living legend, what have you, in the world of darts. It's like I suppose like Di Vernon or something in the world of magic, or Steve Forty, or I mean, just phenomenal. And his manager walks up to me and goes, "Well, would you do a trick for Steve for Phil Taylor?" I said, "Sure." And I have this ability. Sometimes I'll talk first, and then I'll think about what I said. I can talk first without thinking about it. And I know I'm going to die one day, without a doubt, but most likely my last thought will be, "I'll just fuck it, whatever. I'll just do whatever comes to mind." And it was one of those situations. I just said whatever came to mind. The first thing that came to mind talking to him, there was like 150 people or 100 people, a whole bunch of a crowd of folks just standing around us because, well, not for me, but because this is Phil Taylor and this big legend. So and his manager standing next to him, and there's not a table, and I have a deck of cards. And I said, "Well, I understand you play some darts," which gets a little laugh and a small groan. "Yeah, whatever, funny. Of course he plays darts." And I said, "Well, okay, so suppose you're going to hustle someone." And the guy says, his manager pipes up and he goes, "You understand he can't hustle anyone because he's far too well known." And I go, "Well, that's true. But suppose you were to get hustled. Let's say you and I were to play a game of darts. Obviously, you'd have to spot me some points. If I were to get you to spot me too many points, I would beat you in a game of darts right now," which is obviously true. And I mean, he knows that I know that he knows that I know, and so on. So he goes, "Well, yes." And the crowd in attendance, they were mostly German, so they didn't quite understand the uh, everything that was being said, except that I said to him, "Well, I beat you in a game of darts right now," and he goes, "Well, yes." So then I go, "Well, sometimes when hustlers, they don't necessarily make you spot them points, but they might come up with a different version of the game. And this guy probably knows, I don't know, 50 versions of the game, not just 501, but 301 and Cutthroat and whatever little games that they have." And I go, "Well, for example, if you take the 20, So on the dartboard, the 20 is that's the only number I know is at the 12 o'clock position. To the left and to the right of it is the 5 and the 1. I don't know which side, which number is on for that matter. I just know it's the 5 and the 1 next to the 20. And so I go, well, suppose you take, any number at random, let's say 20. If you hit the 1 or the 5, that counts towards your score. But if you hit the 20 just once, it'll void your score. And we'll play to, say, 100. Would you play that game? And the guy gets really, really irate. I mean, the guy's livid. He feels challenged. And he goes, and I remember the way he said it, even to this day. He says, all right, I'll play you this game right now. And it was, I mean, at this point, you've already won. It doesn't matter what you're going to do with the cards afterwards because, you know, there is a 14-time world champion of darts who feels challenged by somebody who doesn't even play darts. I mean, you're done. I mean, you're very good. You know, you win. And so I go, of course, well, I'm sorry, but we don't have a deck of cards, right? We don't have a dartboard right now. So but I do have a deck of cards. And then I did this routine and I said, well, let's say that the aces, the black aces, let's suppose those are darts. And, you know, when you say stop, that'll be the number. That'll be a number chosen at random. And fortunately, for me at the time, it's not like I did any flourishes or anything else with the cards. I just had a deck of cards, but I was just talking to the guy without doing anything with the cards at all. So all of this, well, we'll just take the 2 black, and I didn't know I was going to do that when I started talking to him. I just made it up right then and there, and as a result of the reaction, I got invited to London, to the Dorchester Hotel in London, to do a show for the PDC, the Professional Dart Corporation. And the sad thing is, it was a perfect routine under the circumstances. Of course, I can't do that again because, well, chances are I'm not going to run into another world champion or, you know, legend of darts anytime soon. But under the circumstances, it made sense. And when it comes to an emotional hook, well, first of all, sometimes I tell the story and then I do a sandwich routine in the right crowd. The routine is the same, but the story as an emotional hook works for some folks who are involved in that sort of, you know, darts, playing darts or billiards, or, you know, who into that sort of games of skills kind of, you know, a segment of the population, if you will. And on the other hand, one of the reasons why I tell this story is because there's a number of effects that I do, for example, the ambitious card or whatnot, where it's just a result of the interaction. What I'm going to say for an emotional hook, and there should be one, I quite agree. I have one, like a default presentation for most effects, but I like to not use them. I like to talk to folks first, and depending on what they say, I'll come up with a story where I think this or that effect might work. And more often than not, that works quite well for me. Anyway, just again for the record. And I think I may have told you that story in Holland's Leben, so if so, well, you've heard it again. Anyway, all right.